Hi guys! This is the next tutorial. I'm gonna make superhero capes. Yay! Superhero capes. Well, technically I'm not making the capes, but we're gonna make the logos. Essentially, I'm gonna show you how to do what they're called appliques. I'm doing superhero capes for my nephews for Christmas, and I made them the capes. I'm going to link to the tutorial that I used to make the capes in the description below. No pattern needed, which is it's really nice. And they're really cute, but they are patterned for little kids. So if you want to do them for adults, what I would say is make them wider so that they cover the shoulders. You want them to go like here, and they really only go to here. And also, I would make the neck hole bigger because it barely fits around my neck, and I'm sure I'm not like the biggest person. So I'm sure you could use it for adults though too. So these are the ones that I made. So these are the capes that I made. So see, they're really short. They're like they go down to my butt. But for little kids, they'll probably go past like mid-thigh, depending on how tall the kids are. And then they have a little Velcro. The mistake I did for doing the Velcro is I didn't read the package when I bought the little squares of Velcro, and they're adhesive Velcro and not sew-on Velcro. So what I would do is get the sew-on Velcro and then sew around the edge, because the adhesive will possibly come off. I mean, it pretty much can come off now. I'm not going to rip them off because I don't want them to come off, but they could come off, and then whoever you give them to, or if they're little kids, the little kids will be like, oh, the Velcro came off, my cape is broken. So get sew-on, read the package, learn from my mistakes. So this is what I'm going to teach you how to make, is this logo right here, this symbol. So obviously we know who this one is, right? Right? Comic book fans? And they're all kind of different, but basically what I did is this is felt, and I just sew around each section. So like the star is a section, this is a circle, and then this is just a ring. And then I sewed around it. So, and then I did this one, Green Lantern. I like green, so I decided to do that one. And then this one, since Thor doesn't technically have a symbol, I found one online that I really liked. Whoever designed this, they were awesome. I love them. One of the mistakes that I made was I made the cape first and completely finished it, and then I decided to put the logos on. What I should have done is, because it's 2 layers, see how it's like, it's this and this. Let me try to sew it. So it's 2 layers, and it's sewn all the way around the edge. And so I didn't want to sew through the back, even though it wouldn't have really mattered. I didn't want to sew through the back because I thought it'd be dumb looking. So since I wanted it to stay like this, I had to hand sew through just 1 layer all the way around the edge to get to attach it to the thing. So what I would suggest for you is that if you're planning on making a logo or any kind of applique, and you don't want it to show through the other side like of the garment, like if you make it on a shirt, so put it on like the front of the shirt, put it on the 1 piece of fabric, sew it all around with the machine because it's a lot easier, and then sew it all together. So if you can do that, do that. If you're doing appliques like on your jeans, you're definitely going to have to take the seams apart because it makes it harder. So if you're making something, sewing it together, take the piece that you're going to put the applique on and put the applique on, and then sew the pieces together. So beforehand. I don't know if that makes sense, but do the applique before you sew the pieces together, if that makes sense. So I already, obviously these are already made, so I can't show you how to make these, but I can show you how to make Spider-Man, because Spider-Man's the best. I'll argue with this is what you're going to need. You're going to need scissors, obviously. I have little scissors. You need big scissors. Where are my big scissors? Big scissors. You're going to need a ruler and something to mark with. I would use a pencil, or a pen, or a marker, or whatever you want. I guess you really don't need a ruler or a pencil or marker, but I always have those on hand anyway. If you want me to do a video about all sewing supplies, like if you want to make a little box of sewing supplies, I will do that for you guys if you want me to. And I just bumped the table, and that's why the video went, so I'm going to put this away. Okay, so this is what you're going to need to make it. I bought this. It's Heat and Bond brand. Basically what it says, it's iron-on adhesive. Make sure it says iron-on. I don't know if there's any kind of other type of adhesive, but it has to say iron-on adhesive because there's other things like that that look like this that are actually stabilizers for appliques and what else? There's appliques and embroidery and things like that. That's completely different. So you want this, and it needs to say it says it somewhere. Sewable is, oh, there we go. It needs to say sewable on it, because if you get an adhesive that you can't sew through, it'll gum up your machine, and it sucks really bad. So make sure you get an sewable. Also, now the first step I did was I actually printed this out. We're going to use this. So print out the design you want and print it the same size. So, because obviously you can't use it if it's a different size, like how we're going to. So make sure you print this out on a piece of paper, the same size that you're going to use, and we'll do that in a second. You're also going to use felt sheet squares. I get felt squares. If by the way, if your design is giant and you don't know how to scale it on like 8x8 pages, then you may just have to draw it out on a piece of paper. You could probably use this same method if you wanted to, but if it's really, really big, and obviously you can't use felt squares. So, but felt squares are perfect because they're the perfect size. They're just big enough for me. So I have the 2 felt squares that we're going to use, and I'll explain that a little bit. And then obviously I have the cake that I'm going to put it on. So it's blue on one side and red on the other. We're obviously going to use this side. I think it's going to look cool, by the way. So, cool. And I think that's about it. So the first thing you're going to do is you're going to take your felt squares, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take my paper scissors. I know I talked about it before. I use different scissors for paper and different scissors for fabric. I'm going to explain this. So, when you cut paper, it wears down the scissors really fast. When you cut fabric, you need your fabric scissors to be really, really sharp so that you can cut fabric better. Now, you can take your fabric scissors and cut paper, and because they're scissors, but so that you can make your fabric scissors last longer, only use them on fabric and have different scissors to use on paper. So like my scissors, I have paper scissors that are different colors than my fabric scissors. See how they're different colors so I can tell the difference? If you buy, and these are Singer brands, so they're literally fabric scissors. You can see how they're flat. That's how you can tell they're fabric scissors. These ones are also flat, a little flat. But these are Scotch brand. So fabric scissors, paper scissors make a difference. It really helps. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut out my paper, and I'm gonna cut out the logo in a square basically. So don't cut right to the circle. So I'm just gonna cut it a little bit just so that I know how big I want my square to be. So it's not a perfect square, it's wonky or whatever, but just make it kind of look like this. And then what you're going to do is you're going to take your felt squares, and to make this easier, I line mine up on the edge, on like 2 edges, just like that. Okay, so, and then you're gonna do this. Line that up on that side, line that up on that side, and go ahead, you can pin it down. I'm gonna pin it a little bit just so that I can hold it up and cut it. This isn't really key. This is just so that, because you're gonna put iron-on adhesive on the felt, and you don't want to waste your iron-on adhesive by putting it on this extra piece right here, because you're not going to use that. So just to save your money, basically, you want to use as little as possible. Now what you could, if you wanted to, I guess, cut out this circle, but I'm going to show you why I do it this way. It'll make sense, I promise. So then you cut out your square. I use my fabric scissors there because I wasn't cutting paper. See how it works? Fabric scissors, paper scissors. Just throw the scraps on the side. Now you can unpin this, and now what you're going to do is you're going to take your iron-out adhesive. So you'll be able to tell where the adhesive side is. The adhesive side is basically the sticky kind of. It's not sticky. It feels rough and it's kind of sticky. Oh, there. And then the paper side just feels like regular paper. What you're going to do is you're going to take your adhesive and cut out 2 squares. So one of the adhesive, you're going to cut out one, and it's going to be for your black, and then your other one's going to be for your red. If you need more, my Captain America logo, I used 3 different pieces of felt. So and I did the same thing. I cut it out all on squares for the most part. And then so you have a piece of adhesive. Feels like it's too zoomed in. Let's do that. You have a piece of adhesive that's the same size as your piece of felt. And do that for the red piece as well. You don't have to be exact, but you want it to be really close, because if you have it an overhang, like if it was like this, and you have an overhang, this is going to stick to your ironing board, and then you're going to have adhesive on your ironing board, which happens to me from time to time. But then it kind of sucks. So then you put your other. So keep all the rest, all the extra. And we're going to take this over to the ironing board, and we're going to iron it down. Okay, so I ironed it on, so it's stuck on there. Now, I lied a little bit. I think the 2 things that I want to tell you is that make sure that you have that rough side and then the paper side. Make sure you put the fabric down first, so it's laying like this, and then you put the rough side on top of the paper side. So you're going to have the paper side, the rough side on top of the fabric. So the paper side is going to be up. If you do it the other way, and if you feel the top and it's rough, immediately turn it over. Because if you do it the other way, you're going to iron on adhesive to your iron, and you're going to spend the next couple of, probably at least an hour, depends on how bad it is. You're going to spend a little while scrubbing your iron and getting all the adhesive off. I've done this with other things. It's not fun, so don't do it. So you're ironing on the paper, and you just want to be real even on it. So you want to iron out, so you know, and just make sure it's all stuck on there. Now, leave it like this. Do not take the paper off. The paper backing comes off, and then you're going to attach it to whatever you're sewing. But don't do that yet. Okay. Our next step is to cut this out. That's why we have the paper backing. It makes everything nice and stable. So the first thing we're going to do is take our red piece, in this case, to see, and we're going to cut out this red circle. It'll look like this. So once we go ahead and take all these pins out, get one of these. It's the first thing I bought when I started sewing. Awesome. Best investment ever. And I've had it for 6 years. 6 years. I think it was like $5. And I use it all the time. Okay, so you're gonna end up with this little red circle. Red circle. Yeah, red circle. Now we're gonna take this part. See how I just cut it around? We're gonna cut the spider. Now this is definitely gonna be difficult to cut out. That's why we let you know. That's why you don't want to cut the pieces out individually and then pin them on the fabric and then try to cut the fabric around. It's easier just to cut the whole thing as one. I don't know why, it just happens and it's easier, and I've done it that way. So see how we have like excess black? If you really wanted to, you could, instead of cutting the square like we did, you could just cut the circle and then cut that and then put the adhesive on in a circle. I'm not too concerned about it. You just need enough to cover the spider. So now we're gonna cut the spider out. So now you can kind of see where all the pins are. I put it pretty much anywhere where I could put a pin where I thought that I would need some stability once I start cutting it out. There is a pin. This is going to be pretty difficult to cut out. So I would just start pretty much anywhere. If you have something like if you have something that is too small to pin, just try to pin as much as you can. Like you could pin the outside. That's why we have this paper on here. So we're pinning all of this down. And I just tried to pin within the spider, within the black part that I'm cutting out. So if you can't pin within that, just pin the outside, pin it all down so that when you're cutting it out, it stays where it's supposed to be. So let's cut it out. Okay, so our spider is all cut out now. Look how cute he is. And now we're gonna go ahead and unpin it. One of the things that I kind of figured out, just be careful when you're cutting it out, that you don't cut his little legs off. I'm sure that'd be really hard to do, or really easy to do. Just be really careful. If you need to use, I'm using pretty big scissors. If you need to use like smaller scissors, maybe that would be easier to cut out something so detailed like this. That's what it looks like. Yay, it looks so good. I'm so happy. Okay, so now we're going to take, remember our red circle? Now we're going to take our red circle. We're going to put this on. Now, since it has such little like thin legs like this, it's going to be really key to like get this all centered and flattened out really properly and iron it down. So this is what it looked like. Oh my gosh, it looks so cool. I'm so excited. Okay, so all of your logos, you're going to go from the inside out. So in this case, I took the star and I put it on this blue part, this blue circle. And then I took this red circle, then I took the blue circle and the star and I set it aside. And then I took this red circle and I lined this ring, this is a white ring essentially. And I lined this up and I did this. And then I put the star on top of the red and then I ironed it on there. Now, what I could have done, and it would have been a lot thicker, is I could have done star, blue circle, red circle, white circle, red circle, and that would have been a lot thicker. This way I have only, the thickest layer is 1, 2, 3 layers, and that's the star. So peel off the backing of the spider and leave the backing for the red circle. Now line him up nice and even. I'm gonna eyeball this. If you want to be really accurate, like anytime you're really anal about being accurate, just measure. So make sure his legs get nice and even. So I'm thinking that's good. So then you're going to bring it over to your iron, and I'm not going to bring my computer over to my iron, but you're going to iron and be really careful with felt. It can like kind of melt on the edges. So just be really careful, just try not to move it. And what I would do is take the iron and just press and lift up and press and lift up. Don't rub, because then you'll move everything around and it'll come out really weird. And then he'll be stuck on there and you won't be able to move him. So I'm going to take this over to the iron. Okay, so now I ironed it. See, it won't come off. So now I ironed it. Now the paper backing is still on. We're going to go ahead and take, I'm going to use navy blue thread because that's what's in my sewing machine right now. and I don't feel like changing it. But you would use black. Use whatever color matches better. If it's something like where it's, like use whatever color this is, because you're going to be mostly on this, and you're going to go around the edge right here. Okay, so first thing you want to do is you want to go ahead and take your sewing machine and you want to thread it and all that stuff. If you guys have problems with your sewing machine, I really can't help you because every sewing machine is different, unfortunately. So you're going to take your sewing machine and you're going to set it to a narrow zigzag. You want it to be pretty small, like 1/8 of an inch or smaller. And you're going to go ahead and do that. And then you're going to set the stitch length to about a 1, I would think. You want it to be pretty short. So then you're going to get this really tight zigzag like you see on anything that's embroidered. I'm going to take some scrap fabric and I'm going to make sure my zigzag is right. So I set my zigzag, I set it to a 2. I'm going to see how that looks. I don't think that's 1, so let's set it to a 1 and see what that looks like. Okay, I'm happy with the 1. So I'm going to set it to a 1. So that's what that looks like. It kind of, yeah. So now you'll go ahead and sew. Line it up so that the very edge of the stitch, so like one side of the zigzag will hit the edge of the red, so it'll be off of the black, and the other side of the zigzag will be in the black. I'll show you what I mean. Whenever you want to turn it, do that turn and pivot thing that I told you, and make sure that your zigzag is on the right side of its zag. So it's on the zag part, I guess. Okay, so this is it. You can see that it's stitched all around. You can actually see it really good on the back. There you go. So I use dark blue. You can't really tell. I can tell a little bit, but. So this is what it looks like, and this is the applique. This is it. So to attach this, you would do the same thing that you did all the way around here, all the way around your circle. What I would suggest with like attaching appliques is like this. I would say you would need some sort of like circle or something that's pretty like uniform to sew on. But also, so we have this backing right here, right? What you're going to do is whatever you're going to attach it to, like I'm going to attach it to my cape. So I'll go ahead and peel this backing off, and the stitching will get caught, and then I'll rip it off. So I'm basically going to have to like sit here and peel off all this backing. And then once you peel off all the backing, you can iron it on to whatever, I can iron it onto my cape, so you can iron it on to your cape if you decide to make a cape. Or you can iron it onto your shirt or your pants or whatever you decided to make an applique for. And then you can go ahead and use this machine stitching because you were smart and you decided that you didn't want to hand sew all the way around the edge like Courtney has to do. So that's it. So I hand sewed it on, and you can't even really tell the difference when it's back here. And that's the cape. So ta-da! My nephews are gonna love it so much. I'm so excited. So that's how to do an applique. I have all these lovely capes. They're really cool. They're really awesome. And I'm thinking about making more and making the neck hole a little bigger so adults can wear them, and making more for kids because kids can dress up And also I want to address, I know that Spider-Man doesn't wear a cape, but it's not it's not a Spider-Man costume, it's a Spider-Man cape. So it's just so the kids can like dress up and wear and dress up and pretend to be Spider-Man or pretend to be Thor. And it's just for dress up and play. So that's why I'm doing that. Also, you don't have to do, if you do the capes and you want to make this for like your kid or something, you don't have to do a superhero that exists. You could just do letters and do the same thing, print out the letter in the size that you want, and you can go ahead and cut it out and do the same thing like I showed you. So thanks so much, guys. It was so much fun. Please like this video and comment, and if you keep liking and viewing my videos, then I'm going to keep making them. Also, check me out on Facebook, The Cat's Pajamas by Courtney, Kortni, and like me there and follow me there, and you'll get to see all the stuff I'm working on and everything that's cool. So I'll see you guys later. Bye!